Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of A Chinese Ghost Story 2, a Hong Kong fantasy genre bender from 1990 that was directed by Ching Siu-tung. One could classify this as an action, horror, romance hybrid, just like its predecessor. So following the events of the first film, Ning, played by Leslie Cheung, parts ways with a Taoist Yin, and returns to his home village, which has since fallen on desperate times. Fleeing from cannibals, he winds up being imprisoned for a crime that he did not commit. Sharing a cell with Elder Chu, a renowned scholar, he spends time languishing in prison. On the day of his execution, the scholar reveals that he has in fact dug out an escape tunnel, and he gives Ning one of his books and a pendant, and sends him out to escape. Now, after obliviously stealing the horse of Autumn, played by Jacky Cheung, these men are attacked by two rebels, played by Wong and Reis. But everyone must eventually come together and team up to fight some monsters. That's a decent synopsis for you. So the film begins with a montage of events from the first film. Then we get opening credits set to the backdrop of a painting, quite nice. The same director, of course, has returned for this sequel, and the overall quality is comparable. It's not quite, I would say, as moody or romantic as the original film. There's a greater emphasis here on action and comedy, but I do like the interaction between the team of rebel soldiers that kind of come together. Leslie Cheung's character is kind of in a situation in this film where he's mistaken for being someone else. So he needs to kind of act tougher and more in control than he actually is, and that does create some interesting and humorous scenarios, which I enjoyed. So a good chemistry between these people. The cast, as you might have noticed, is pretty freaking loaded. And you get Leslie Cheung, of course. I forgot if I mentioned this in my review of the first Chinese Ghost Story film, but hugely popular actor and singer. If you're unfamiliar with his acting work, these movies are actually a pretty great introduction, if only because they're so purely entertaining. And his temperament is perfect for the character here. I mentioned Wong recently during my review of City Hunter. Her best movie, in my opinion, is Green Snake, which I also reviewed on my channel years ago. But these Chinese Ghost Story films are also quite high on her best of list. And then Western viewers may notice Michelle Reis for her role in the Wong Kar-wai film Fallen Angels. And her character here is like more energetic and vibrant compared to that film. So we get to see a different side of her acting style, and she's quite good in this as well. Now, I have heard, on occasion, people criticizing Jacky Cheung's acting talents in general. And I think that depends on what movie you watch. For example, there was one movie he did from 2012 called Crossing Hennessy, and I thought he was not particularly good in that film, but I do like him in most of his older thriller, action, or fantasy flicks. And in A Chinese Ghost Story 2, he does make me laugh in this film, especially during the sequence where he's accidentally frozen and can't move except for his eyeballs. And he has some pretty good expressions of that made me laugh. So he's good in this. Even Reis shows up and gets to tangle with some monsters. And he was in, he's been in a bunch of stuff, but one of my favorites of his was Nagai Choi Lam's masterpiece, The Cat, from 1992. If you have not seen The Cat, try to find it. It's pretty hilarious. But yeah, really good cast in this. The antagonists are a blend of like monsters and body-snatching demons. Some very entertaining fights. There's a freezing ability, which I mentioned just briefly. It's used by the protagonists quite often. It's effective, but it can also backfire under certain circumstances. And I like how some of the action is constructed to emphasize and explore this ability. The evil monster is a fantastic practical effect, and it shows up a lot in the film. Even before it shows up, you get the impression that this thing's going to be pretty cool, because you see its footprint in the ground at one point, and it's pretty huge footprint, and there's like an eviscerated dead body next to it, so you're wondering like what this thing's gonna, like what type of monster are we dealing with. It's pretty cool stuff. Multiple fights against this featured monster, very lengthy and fun. Tons of different tactics and spell casting in this. There are some acts of deception by some of the villains, all right? And the finale involves a centipede demon that's nicely satisfying. So again, a lot of the different genre elements in this film working together very well. There is still quite a bit of spooky nighttime atmosphere here. The film is very nicely paced, keeps moving. It keeps moving. There's not a lot of wasted time in this film. Constant stream of entertainment. I would rank the first film, if I had to choose, I would rank the first film, The Chinese Ghost Story, slightly higher than this one, because I feel that film is even more moody and even more romantic than this one. But when all is said and done, A Chinese Ghost Story 2 is a great sequel to a classic film. It is available on Amazon streaming as well as physical media. I strongly recommend this. Both of these movies make a fantastic double feature. But is the third film in this trilogy any good? We're going to stay tuned for my review of that film next week. And as always, I will see you next time.